This game's basically the same as Crossy Roads. What we have to do is get the cat using the arrow keys to get to the drum, and we have these little monsters and they move up and down at different speeds. We're just going to go through the basics of the coding. Again, you'll have a PDF because there is a lot of code here. And I'm just going to go through the meaning. We'll start with Scratch and we'll go all the way through to the stage, which has got the timer on it. So looking at Scratch, first of all, we want everything to go to the position that it needs to be at the start. So when flag clicked, go to X and Y position. And if you put in these numbers, -208 and 0, then the cat will go back here, and then you can see that we've got the go to on all the other, apart from the drum because that doesn't move, all the other players. Okay. Now as you can see, most of the code is going to be on Scratch because he is going to have to move across and react to the space monsters. So when right key pressed, move 10 steps. When left key pressed, move 10 steps. We only need him to go left or right. So we're only going to use the arrow keys left and right. When flag clicked, if touching green, go back. Now, that was the old game when we left these as green. So this is redundant code now because we've put this new code in here. So I'm going to get rid of this. And for some reason we've called the drum fruit. So if he touches that, he's going to go back to the beginning and say, I win for 2 seconds. Now up here we have the code for when we touch sprite 4, 10 and 11. So it says here, when flag click forever, and this is the sensing, touching, and I'm going to go to this triangle in the corner here and drop down. I'm going to choose sprite 10, and I'm going to put it in the forever if. So forever if, so only if touching sprite 10, go back to the beginning and play Scream. How did I get a Scream in there? I went to Sounds, I went to Import, Human, and there should be Scream in there as well. Back to scripts, and that is exactly the same script 3 times. The only change is which sprite it actually activates. The I win for 2 seconds, you should know by now, is in looks, and the movement is obviously in motion. We have got one variable, timer, and we'll come to that when we get onto the stage. Okay, let's move to the monster. Monster, we're going to use the glide command, and that's going to be in motion. So we want it to start off at the bottom of the page, and then forever glide 2 seconds from the bottom to the top, and these are the numbers: -151, -165, and we want to stay on the same plane, so he's just going up and down. So -165, which is this one here, and 151, which is the opposite of this one. So he's now going to go up and down. So let me just turn it on for you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just make the cat just a little bit smaller so he's not touching. There we go. A bit bigger. Ooh, don't want that one. Right, put it on again. So you can see they're going up and down, and we're following -24 to +24. So it's just an inversion of the number. Okay. You'll have the PDF, which will have the numbers in, but understand where the X and Y is. Remember, Y to the sky and X is across. So X value goes across, Y value goes up. Okay, we're going to change colour. Let me just stop that for a moment, it's a bit annoying. We're going to change colour effect by 25, which means the pictures will actually be a bit more interesting. They'll change colour. That's why, if you remember, when we go back here, we had the redundant code and we changed it to sprite specific code. Before it was just touching green. And if you've got all green sprites, that's a good one code to do because they're all green. But if you want to change the colour of the sprites like we're doing, you've got to be sprite specific. Okay, so this will be the same for each of these. The only one I've done different is the middle sprite, sprite 10, and if you notice I've just put a pick random 1 to 10 on the glide, so we don't know how fast that one's going to go. So it makes it a little bit more tricky to go across. Let's have a look at the code on the drum. All it is, play hip hop. How did I get the sound? Went to sounds, imported, chose musical loops, and I chose hip hop down here, but you can choose any of these, whichever one you like. Go back to costumes, go back to scripts, and I'm playing a drum in between just so the music keeps going even after the loop is played. Okay, so let me just play that for you. Right, so as you can see, because I've added that bass drum in, there's no gap as the loop plays. So we've got one flag click forever, because it's going to go on forever, the length of the game. Play the sound and just add in that drum beat. So now I'm going to come on to the stage. Now this is a standard timer. When green flag clicked, set timer to 0. I want it to go on for basically a minute, so 60 seconds. You could change it to 30 if you wanted more difficult game. Change timer by 1, wait 1 second, that will give you 60 seconds. If timer equals 60, stop all. Okay. Now, like I say, I will make a PDF of this as well, so you'll have all the code to check through and look through. But basically, if you look at the function of the code, it's all rather simple. These three are exactly the same. This one here is just for when touching the drum at the end. Now, for some reason, we call it fruit. That must have been a piece of fruit at some point. Then we change it to the drum for the music. But this one just simply says if you touch that, you win. So you're going to say, I win for 2 seconds. These are just movement, and this is starting position. So again, here you've got the starting position at the top, and then you've got the movement in the forever block. You've got the play sounds within the drum, and going to the stage you have a timer. This is a standard timer. This is how we always do the timer. If we put it on the stage, it's universal to everything. So remember, you will need to make the timer variable. So you make variable in here, and then you've got these little triangles where you're going to choose timer in there. And then that little lozenge one you just drop into an equals. So that's in operators. Down there, equals. Go back to variable and you just drop that in. So when timer equals, just double click in there and type 60. And then that will drop right into the if with that shape. Okay.